How are we doing, everyone, and welcome to episode 11 of Talking to Mod. This week we've got Colin Hegner, who I spent a lot of time on the road with when I was on tour with the Brian Jonestown Massacre. We're going to talk about that time he bailed me out in Brighton because someone ran off the stage, and we're going to talk about his band Federal as well. So ladies and gentlemen, sit back, relax and listen to episode 11 of Talking to Mod. There we go.
Hello.
How are you, my friend?
All right, how you doing?
Very, very well. Do you like the...
You're representing.
Of course. Of course.
Thank you.
But first of all, how are you, mate? You well?
Yeah, doing all right. You know, we just got done playing a couple shows here. So yeah, I'm good. A little exhausted from traveling all the time, but you know, can't complain too much.
If it's anything, if I can help, mate, I've had about 2 hours sleep. I had to be at the airport for 4 this morning. No, yeah, 4 o'clock, and then it's just brutal with the little man. But the missus and little Lonnie are upstairs watching some kids program. They'll probably be asleep when I go back up. But that's the life we live now, eh?
Yeah. That's great, man.
First of all, mate, I want to thank you for joining me on this podcast. They've been going really well, and as soon as I sort of had an idea I was going to do something like this, I thought I've got to get some of the boys from the tour, and you were the first ones to spring to mind because on the tour, I don't know, I mean, I got on with everyone because I'm sure you'll agree with this as well. It's like a family, but I don't know, probably because me and you have been talking the most since the tour's finished, so I've got a bit of a bond with you.
That was great. Good times, some wild times, you know. It sort of like creates a bond because you've like experienced these things that no one else can really understand unless you're there.
No,
so.
I know, but just imagine if I wasn't sober and I was still on the drink, it would have been a whole different ball game, mate. So, how did you get into music in the first place, mate?
Oh man, I just always loved music. My dad's a musician. He owns a recording studio, so I just grew up around people playing music, and my dad's a drummer, so I started playing violin when I was a kid, and then I started playing stand-up bass, and I played the jazz band at our school, and the orchestra, and the choir, and all the. I basically take every single music class I could, so I wouldn't have to take like more math classes or something, and I've just been going at it ever since,
So you say your dad was a musician and that. I take it growing up you had all different kinds of instruments all around the house, so it was easy for you to just grab one and try and learn it straight away?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, my dad's a drummer, so he had a lot of percussion stuff around. Weirdly, I'm not very good at playing drums, which I wish I was, but yeah, so there's always guitars and pianos and stuff around, so I just got into it. But it's like I have a love of music, and I mean, for me, like the first thing I can remember is like hearing a Beatles track, like it's kind of my first memory, and it's just always like fascinated me, like the power of music,
No, definitely. It speaks all different languages, it brings everyone together, music, mate. That was going to bring me on to the next one. I was going to say, do you remember the first sort of record you went out and bought yourself? But it sounds like it might have been a Beatles one.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't buy that my parents' record. Yeah, but I listened, Revolver is my favorite record of theirs. Maybe a record. But anyway, like, yeah, I remember just listening to the beat, like, over and over. Just, what is this? It seemed like it was from outer space or something, like just the vocal harmonies, the songs are so amazing. But yeah, I think the first record that I bought is probably a lot more embarrassing.
Who was it?
Actually, it's not too bad. I went out to Tower Records and I got 2 CDs. I got Public Enemy and Boyz II Men. Boyz II Men and Public Enemy, yeah.
That's not too bad, 50%'s all right.
I was you can do.
man, brilliant. What kind of did you have musical heroes growing up?
When I was growing up?
Yeah, like did you? I mean, for me, growing up, my hero was Paul Weller, you know, but I was never going to be a musician. So I tried on the tour bus to play a tune out of the guitar, but
Yeah,
it weren't for me. I'll leave it to you boys.
well, I mean, I just, you know, of course, I love, you know, the dudes from the 60s. That's kind of where my heart is. So, you know, I like, when I was younger, I was obsessed with like Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison, you know, John Lennon, those kinds of folks. That was kind of really what I was into. That's all I ever really wanted to do in life, was to be in a rock band.
And you're living the dream, mate.
I guess so.
But that's what I was going to mention, though. I mean, was it always a dream for you to be in a band? And I mean, you just answered it there. But I mean, I think it's every kid's dream when they grow up. They're like, right, I want to headline Glastonbury, or you know, I want to bring out a #1 album. But you know, you mentioned there you wanted to be in a rock band, and that is living the dream, really, mate, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I took a sort of weird route to it because, you know, like I said, I did a lot of like classical and jazz stuff when I was younger. And in fact, I went to, I got a scholarship to the University of Oregon and for the jazz program, playing stand-up bass. And I, you know, I love jazz music. I love classical music too, but I realized that I was never good enough in those genres because the people who are good in those genres are pretty incredible, like tech musicians. And not to say that you don't be like technically amazing in rock and roll, but there's just different things that are more important, you know, like how things sound, that kind of music, in rock. And so I, you know, I was more drawn to that. I did actually finish my studies in at the university. So weirdly, I got a degree in music, which I think is pretty unusual for rock.
And it's I only found out, well, last time we spoke to each other was probably about a month ago, but before then someone said he's the best whistler ever, and I was thinking, what? Like thinking like that, you know, whistling with your fingers in your teeth or something. Right. But you sent me some music, and I must admit, very catchy. I think my favourite song, Tribe. Yeah. I think it is that one and that's in a film as well, isn't it? If I'm not mistaken, you mentioned.
It's in the trailer for The Banshees of Inisherin, yeah.
Brilliant little song, man. Brilliant song. How did that come about?
The trailer or the song? Or my whistling? Well, I also really, really love Ennio Morricone. As anybody who's ever heard Panther, and I just love soundtrack from, you know, the late 60s and the early 70s, especially like the Italian stuff and the European stuff of that era. So I was just always fascinated with the different melodic instruments that existed, you know, in these genres. So I started thinking, well, why couldn't you bring some of that stuff like more of a rock band setting? Which is how I started doing the whistling thing with my band. I've always been a pretty good whistler, but I never thought it would be like any sort of like a useful thing. I never like thought to develop the skill. I started doing it, and I was like, oh, I guess I'm pretty good at this. There's definitely people who are much, but I feel like I've got a, you know, particular style that is unique, and people seem to like it. So yeah, I've just been doing it, and I think I've gotten a lot better at it over the years.
I mean, I think it's brilliant, mate. Honestly, like I was walking, you sent me the song, the link to the song Tribe, and I was walking around Belfast listening to it. It was like, I felt like I was in like Red Dead Redemption or something like that. I was loving it, mate. Yeah, that's brilliant. And not only that, you kindly sent me a lovely care package. I'm repping the shirt.
Yes, thank you.
And I've got these 2 fantastic albums as well that you sent me.
Cool. Cool.
Oh, no, beautiful, aren't they? Yeah?
Glad you got those.
I love them, mate. And this one, I think I'm playing more at the moment. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're fantastic. I'm not blowing smoke up your ass because, you know, if I thought they were pony, I wouldn't listen to them. But they're really, really good. But at the moment, I keep on finding myself drawn to this one, mate. And the Missus is the same. And I mean, let's touch up a little bit about these albums. So I take it this one was first, wasn't it?
No, that's the newest one, actually.
Is it
the red one?
This one the first one?
That's actually the that's our fourth record, and then the other white one is our fifth.
Brilliant, man. So how long's this one been out for now?
That one came out in 2019, I think.
Yeah.
And then after that, we put out an EP of like covers, and put out a single as well. And then I have a whole new record, but it's not. I'm still working on it.
That's good, man. I absolutely love it. And I mean, I'm going to bring up a story in a minute about how you write your songs, but I just saw a comment saying something about your sound on your end keeps coming in and out, but I don't know. I don't think that's anything we can do.
Yeah, sorry.
Sure, listen, we're professionals, mate. We're roll with the punches. Do you know what I mean?
Well, sorry about that.
Don't be sorry, mate. Listen, these things happen. But yeah. So I remember when we going on to the way you write songs and that. I remember when we were at the Barrowlands and there was a bit of a break in between songs, and I looked over and you had this book on an amp and you were just writing, and I was thinking, what's he doing? He's shopping list or something like that. I thought you were ordering a Chinese, but asking the boys what they want.
Right.
And then I went up to you and I'm like, what were you doing, mate? And you're like, well, it's the best time to write a song. I was like, what?
Yeah. Sometimes I'll have things pop into my head, the strangest times. And sometimes if you don't write them down, get them, you'll lose them. So yeah, I remember that specifically because I had a really good idea for a lyric. In fact, I sent you the song because I did a song recently before we went on this trip. But anyhow, I had a good idea for a lyric, and we were just in between songs. So I do it whenever I can. It happens on stage a lot, actually.
Unbelievable, mate, unbelievable. But I know I jumped to the chase there, but how did it come about getting involved with the Brian Jonestown Massacre, mate?
It's a funny story. So I had opened up, I had a band in Portland. They were sort of like the local 60s inspired drug rock band. And we had opened up for the Brian Jonestown. We had opened up for the Warlocks. We had opened up for Wood's band. He had a band in Portland. Matt used to be in B-Jam. Anyhow, so we opened up for B-Jam. And funny enough, so me and the drummer from that band were friends, and Anton had posted Friendster. This is, before MySpace. Anton's always been pretty, on it about the social media stuff. So he posted a thing on Friendster, he needed a and my friend volunteered me without asking me to do it. He called me up and he's like, man, Anton said that we can be in the band. Can you be in LA in 2 weeks? And I was like, well, at the point I had 2 jobs. I had a girlfriend. One of them was working for my dad. I was like, hey, Dad. He's like, yeah, that's fine. So that took care of that. And then I talked to my other boss. He was like, yeah, totally. I was like, all right. And then I talked to my girlfriend. She's like, I think we should break up.
Oh, wow.
So I was just all of a sudden very free. So yeah, I drove down, did a tour, and we all were my first show doing a show with B-Jam, putting up for Arthur Lee and Love. And it was kind of blew my mind, the whole thing. Because I went from being in a pretty small Portland band to doing something like that. It was a major change.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I just sort of kept doing it. And it's been almost 16 years
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. You've been in there a long time now, and I mean, you've played some fantastic venues. I mean, I've been lucky enough to have been in some of them venues with you guys on the most recent tour, and I mean, you've played some brilliant festivals as well. I mean, Glastonbury for just for example, right? I was speaking to Will Sargent, who we met on the BJM tour. He come to the Liverpool show, Echo and the Bunnymen guitarist, and I was saying, you know, to play Glastonbury, that's got to be like a footballer scoring the winner in an FA Cup final. That's just like, it's well up there, isn't it? I mean, explain, you know, how are you feeling getting prepared for that, mate?
Yeah, that was pretty nuts, man. Because we played some big gigs, but that was one of the bigger ones that, you know, had ever come up. And you know, I don't really get nervous before playing or anything, but when I kind of walked out there and saw the crowd, I was like, okay, this is a little intimidating. But, you know, at a certain point, you just get up there and, you know, it's just like any other gig. You play how you know how to play and you do your best. And actually, I think it was a really good show. I watched the footage of it, I don't know, like a year ago. And it stands up. I think it's a pretty good set.
I think the whole set's on YouTube, if I'm not mistaken, because
it is, yeah.
Sometimes me and my partner relive a gig, and we watched. Normally, I pick one. I picked the Jam, like Bingley Hall, and then she picked the Brian Jonestown Massacre at Glastonbury, and a fucking great set, blown away, mate. Honestly, like again, like, you know, I know people who listen back to this, they go, "Oh, he's just, you know, blowing smoke up their arse," but it's like, for me, to have been in that environment, to have watched you guys every night, yeah, like what you said, when you went from playing the small venues to the bigger venues, it blew my mind, because I was aware, of course I was aware of the Brian Jonestown Massacre, you know, everyone does, but like, to see you play every night, it was like an absolute pleasure. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and, you know, I tried to explain this, but not one show is ever the same. You know, sometimes you go and see a gig or a band and they play the same songs every gig, you know, but watching you guys, it was never the same every night. It was totally different. You never knew what you were going to get. Yeah. And that's what made it even more exciting.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely an element of like improvisation that exists in our group, you know, within a certain framework. So I think within that framework, there's actually a lot of freedom to, you know, do some different things and bring, you know, take things into different directions. So that's nice, because, you know, if we're just going out there and banging out the same thing over and over and over and over, it'd probably be pretty boring. So I think it keeps it really interesting, and I think it makes it interesting for the crowd too, you know, people that come to multiple shows and stuff like that. Because they'll see something different, you know, and that's kind of the idea. Kind of try to get lost in the moment as much as we can, you know.
Exactly, and here's another thing I picked up as well. The fan base that BJM has is so loyal, and they would go and travel hundreds of miles just to go and see them. There was one, I think it was you, Colin, who introduced me to this girl in, I think it was Glasgow, and she'd been to something ridiculous, like I can't remember how many shows, but she went to like 6 on this tour. She went to, you know, 10 on another. It was something ridiculous, how many shows she went to.
Yeah, that's Diana. She's amazing. It. Yeah, she's been to a lot of shows. Yeah, for sure. I can't remember how many, but it's a significant number.
I remember, because I think Ryan was with us as well, and you were both telling me, and then she spoke to me and told me how many shows, and I was like, what? Like, I haven't even seen my football team play that many times, and you've seen a band play that many times. Like, is that 175 times?
I think
Ryan.
I think it's something like that. Yeah.
That is incredible.
And there's definitely some other folks who come to a lot of shows. You know, like specifically, like, you know, we'll come to a lot of the shows in the UK, or we'll come to a lot of the shows in certain parts of the US tour. So, you know, it's nice. Plus, you know, you sort of get to know some of these folks, and, you know, honestly, a lot of them are my friends at this point, you know, so it's kind of neat.
Do you have a favorite venue that you like to play?
Oh, geez, that's a tough one. I mean, I love the Barrowlands. Like, you brought that up. Like, that's such an iconic place. There's I really like playing Stubbs in Austin also. It's like sort of outdoor, but not totally outdoor, you know. So it's kind of a neat vibe, and they do some really cool projections on this this backdrop that they have there. So that's always pretty cool. But yeah, I don't know. There's more, of course, but like, those are the ones that come up. Yeah.
Every time I ask this question, right, the Barrowlands is normally always up that, like,
yeah,
85% of the time, people always say
so cool. And like so much history, you know, like Bowie climbed up to the ceiling and like ripped a star off of the ceiling.
Exactly. I remember you telling me that, or someone told me that, and I was thinking, how cool would it be if I did that? But then it would have made the same, like, oh, who nicked the other guy? Oh, just some magician, random magician, no one knows it. But David Bowie nicked that one. You know what I mean? I thought,
yeah.
But I mean, like everything about it, even the dressing rooms, it was like going back in time, wasn't it?
Yeah, totally. That's what I love about it. I get kind of tired of like the really modern places that are sort of like everything's very the same or whatever. But that place has a lot of like, you know, it's got a lot of spirit, and it feels like it's, you know, unique and of its time, and it's just, you know, there's so much history in that room.
Of course, man.
Great.
No, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
What about a favourite song? You got one that you really enjoy playing?
With BJM?
Yeah.
There's a couple. I mean, I really like Nevertheless. I really like When Jokers Attack. There's, you know, some of the newer ones are really great. You know, I think it's really cool that Anton is, you know, playing so much new material, you know. So the last song that we play, Abandoned Ship, is a real, it's got a lot of chutzpah. So that one's really fun to play too. Yeah, I don't know. I'm constantly impressed with Anton's creativity and like ability to come up with entirely new things. You know, our set when I first started playing is completely different than when it was in the middle of when I was playing, and like even what we're doing now is just completely different. A lot of bands are like trapped into like, we have to play, you know, these songs that everybody knows, and that kind of turns you into being less, you know, it's more of like a nostalgia thing, as opposed to someone who's like still making new stuff that's just as good as anything they ever made. So I don't know. That's a long-winded answer, but
no, not at all. Not at all. And going on to Anton there, you know, when I come off the tour, after I come home, and I had a few weeks to myself to chill out, and then before I did some other shows, I listened to, because he gave me sort of homework. He said, you got to listen to the first album, to the most recent album, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, the way he just keeps on coming up with something, he's just a genius. And again, I don't throw that word around because it's not something that should be just gifted out. But I mean, it's incredible the stuff he does. And like, I remember one night on the tour bus, he played me something new that he was working on or something with his Bluetooth speaker. He said, listen to this. And I was like, Jesus Christ. It's incredible. And you know, just how many instruments he can play. And there's, for instance, myself, I can't even play, well, I can play the spoons, do you know what I mean? So that's one. But like, the amount of instruments he can play is, it's incredible, isn't it? You know, and I mean, it's like you said, that's just the talent, isn't it, really? You've either got it or you haven't. You can't teach that. It just comes natural to him.
Yeah, I mean, you can practice and you can learn and you can practice more, but I think there's a certain level of like, you know, some people are just born with that talent and that ability, and you know, maybe not everyone is, you know. So it's a lot of hard work, but it's also a lot of just innate talent, and he's definitely got both going for him.
100%, man, 100%. Now, you've toured numerous times, mate. You know, you've been to some fantastic parts of the world. You've got probably more tours than I've ever had at dinners, right? But was it the first time you've ever been on a tour with a magician?
You know, it was, and it was pretty great, I gotta say. I loved watching you every night, man. It was so fun, and like you're so witty, and like I love how you like have comebacks with the crowd. Like you're really on top of it, and it's really, really great. It's fun.
Appreciate that. That's a lovely thing to say. It really is. Do you remember when you had to help me out in Brighton?
Yeah, I sure do.
So for the people who don't know what happened,
Okay.
We played Brighton 3 nights in a row, and I think this was the second night in Concord 2.
I think that's...
And I bring up someone to help me out, and brought this lady out of the crowd. She come up and helped me, and I noticed when she was standing next to me that she was a little bit like, oh my God, I'm not sure if I should be here, you know, that sort of that. So we got her to pick a card. Then I brung out this trap and said, you know, this is going to happen and that. No, it wasn't the trap one. It was the envelope one, wasn't it?
Yes.
That's it.
That's right.
And I said, oh, I think the trick's gone wrong. Of course it hasn't. I'm building it up.
Right.
And before I know it, she's gone, fuck this, and walked off the stage, hasn't she, right?
She ran away, yeah.
And it weren't until after that I got told that she might have overdone it on the mushrooms before.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what happened? Because I was watching your set from the side of the stage, and so you had called her up. I think her husband actually was like, "Have her come up. It's her birthday or something." And yeah, and so she came up, and I noticed that she was like terrified, and I'm like, "Oh, you're gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be okay. Don't worry." And she's like, "Well, I don't know if I can do this." And I'm like, "Why? Oh, it's gonna be fun." She's like, "Well, I've taken a pill." It's like, okay, well, you know, maybe that'll calm you down. Maybe that'll, you know, be good for you. And then she's like, but I've also taken mushrooms. It's like, oh, well, I don't know how that's going to work. That's a bit of a curveball. And so, yeah, when she was up doing the routine with you, and I think she just got completely terrified. And I remember she just like ran away and ran out of the building, in fact. And you're standing up there like, I have to finish this, like, but my assistant person is gone. And I was like, I'll help out, I'll do it. But yeah,
it bailed me out, and the trick was a success. But I mean, I just found that you wouldn't get that with your average crowd. Do you know what I mean? I just think for me that is one of the standout moments. You know, you went on the tour with BJM, you end up out of all the people in the crowd, you happen to pick someone who's overdone it on the mushrooms and popped a pill just before they've gone on the stage. I think that's incredible. Like,
yeah,
Paul Daniels didn't have to deal with that, did he?
No, I doubt it. I don't think so.
It was so funny though, and I mean, yeah, I want to talk about the time when we were on the bus as well, away from the music, and we of course, you know, lovely tour buses, and we're very lucky to be on that. And they got like a lounge upstairs, and I think we were watching. It was the first time I've watched it, The Prisoner.
Oh, yeah, and that's great.
That was trippy though. Like I was like watching it, thinking, have I taken something here? Like, what is going on here? And I completely haven't. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, this is weird, man. But I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I didn't know that was your first time watching that. It's so great. Yeah,
no,
it's really neat.
And the Pink Panther as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, we watched a bunch of that. Yeah,
that was the first time for me again.
Yeah, yeah, stuff is so funny. That's another thing that's just kind of fun about being on these tours. Is like, you know, being around people and having, you know, especially Joel. Like he'll suggest that we watch something because he's got impeccable taste, you know, and you know, we'll end up watching something I never seen before, and you know, I never would have heard about it if it wasn't for, you know, Joel bringing it up or somebody bringing it up. And it's just like the neatest experience, sharing, watching all these things together, you know, in that environment.
I remember Andrea, I think she had the best of Tommy Cooper in with all the DVDs, and I remember everyone was like, especially Ryan. I don't think Ryan even, I might have got this wrong, but a few people have not heard of Tommy Cooper, and I was like, oh my God, you've got to watch this. You've got to watch this. This is going to be like, I don't know, the best thing ever, you know, and you got to check it out. And I remember we watched it a few times, and I think it went down quite well. Yeah. You know, I think Tim loved it. I think, and Shay did as well. He thought it was brilliant. But then a few of them were like, oh, so this is where you get some of your material from.
Yeah, that's great. I had never seen that before either. Yeah.
No, and I mean, another thing I liked is just such a wide range of music on the whole bus with everyone together. I remember we had some jamming sessions straight after the gigs. Someone put their phone on, and I remember Ryan got me into some, I can't think of the woman's name, but it was like really folky, and it was unbelievable. And then it was just so nice. It was like a music lesson. I was learning and listening to all different types of music, and I mean that's got to be something as well that is also great to have. You know, you do the show and then you're winding down with your mates, relaxing, and you're listening to all different types of music. It's brilliant, man.
Yeah, no, I've heard so much stuff just that I never ever would have heard had I not been in this band. You know, just the hours that we spend so many hours just like traveling, and like, you know, so much of touring is like waiting around or like being in a moving vehicle, you know. So it's great to like, you know, to spend that time like sharing music and stuff. And I've learned so much stuff from all the folks in this band. It's been really incredible. I'm really grateful about all that, you know, because it just opens your mind.
100%. I remember Anton giving me one rule before I went on the tour, and he was like, no fucking Oasis on the tour bus. That's it. I was like, okay. But I mean, again, Colin, I've got a couple more questions before I let you go, mate, 'cause I know you're a very busy man, and I do appreciate your time. So once again, thank you for taking time out with me, mate.
Very happy to be here.
You mentioned Joel there, and I got, again, another person I got on really well with. Like I mentioned, I got on with you all so well, but it was great to have a few moments with it's like sometimes it was just me and you, and it was me and Ryan, and then it was just me and Joel. And I remember I asking him, I think it was Anton's idea, or it was someone's idea, it might have been Joel's idea, about me coming up and helping out like with the song, the last song, Abandoned Ship, playing in that. And I remember being like, oh shit, it's all right with Anton, because I don't just want to walk on, you know what I mean, like with the maracas and that. But it went down quite well.
Man, that was really fun to have you there.
It was just, it felt like, for, you know, for that, I think the song was about 6-7 minutes long, right? For them minutes, right, you know, to be on the stage. We did it in the Barrowlands, we did it in Belfast, and then we did it on the last one in London. And it was like, I'm part of the band, like, for, say, 10 minutes. It was like, wow, you know. And
you totally were, man. That was really great.
But it was so nice to see it from your point of view, because when you see it, when you're doing the magic, everyone's chilled out. It's like a bingo ball. But when you're up there rocking it, and you're looking at the crowd, I'm like, oh wow. And I remember one point in the Barrowlands, I was so fixed on the crowd, going, oh my god. And I just kept on shaking them, and Joel was like, you're out of tune, you're out of tune. At a time, I was out of time, I know, right? But mate, you must just be having a lovely. But just a quick one. Joel's bringing out a book next year, isn't it? Is it February?
That's right. Yeah, it just got announced, and so you can pre-order it right now. If you go to like Joel's, you know, social media, he's got links to it there where you can pre-order it. And I've been reading his writing for ever since he's kind of started doing that. And I think his writing is just really incredible. You know, like. Obviously, he has a lot of stories from being in this band, just stories from his life in general. But the way that he tells the story is so incredible. It's so funny, and like it's so unique to his own voice. So I definitely recommend anybody who finds that stuff interesting to like go and like pre-order it, because it's really great. I haven't read the final version of it, but I've been reading stuff that he's been posting on Patreon for a while, and it's incredible stuff. So I definitely recommend people checking that out.
And I mean, going back to his writing, I remember you sent me a link he'd done a lovely little review about me being on tour, and just saying just what he said was lovely. And I mean, he is a fantastic writer, because I used to often see him in the dressing room on his laptop, and I always wondered, was he writing songs and that? But when I found out he was writing, it was just brilliant, man. And I look forward to reading that book. I mean, is that something you would ever like to do?
Oh, maybe. I mean, I probably have to work on my writing quite a bit to get anywhere where I felt like confident enough about it. Although, you know, one thing I do, which I've thought about doing in the past is I write down a lot of funny quotes that people say. So this wouldn't exactly be like a, you know, like a nonfiction book or anything, but I have a lot of funny things that people have said over the years. I think it might be kind of a fun thing to like make a coffee table book of funny, stupid things that people say on tour, you know, and like maybe I got a bunch of pictures too, so I can pair it with some pictures. I don't know. Maybe I'll do that one day. But I do have a lot of stories, so.
Once again, thank you, mate. I want to leave you with this one. So what does the next 12 months hold for you, mate?
Well, we're doing the Manchester Psych Fest, I think in about a week.
And that's next week, isn't it?
Yeah. And then I have a bunch of shows with my band Federale in Portland. And then also we're going to do a West Coast thing. But I'm going to be working in the studio. I own a studio, so I do a lot of like mixing as well as like doing music for films and stuff. And I've got a film thing lined up, so that's kind of my next big project, is trying to start working on that film score.
Brilliant, man. Brilliant. Next time I see you, I want you to at least know one magic trick. You
got a deal. Good. I'm going to have to... Where am I going to learn about this, though? You'll have to give me some resources.
Listen, you can find everything on YouTube these days, don't you?
Oh, okay. I'll come up with my own. How about that? I'll get creative and make my own.
100%, man. But once again, I know, like I said, you're a very busy guy at the moment, and I appreciate you taking your time out to chat to me on this, and I think people have enjoyed it. It's been a great chat, so thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for having me do it, man. It's so great to talk to you always. It's good to see you.
It's always good to see you, and you're looking well, man. So I'm going to love you and leave you, mate, and enjoy the rest of the time away.
Cheers.
See you soon, brother. Take care.
Bye.
Bye, mate. Bye-bye. So there we go. That was lovely to see Colin. You know, he's such a lovely guy and someone I really got on well with on the tour. As I mentioned, I got on with the whole band, the Brian Jonestown. They're just lovely guys. I mean, Ryan, who's commented there, he's another one I love to bits. I love them all. So, yeah, it'd be nice to do with them all one day. But, yeah, thank you, everyone, for listening. And this will be out on all platforms soon. And thanks again to Colin. And special shout out to my boy Ryan as well. So enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. And, yeah, peace and love. Take care. Bye-bye. A man of illusion, a magic god, the wonder I'm the magic mod with a sleight of hand, the magic god. See my hands vibrations the sand. Everything's work, a silver man. Fulfill the wrist and it's gone.